Alright, this is Jason Gearn from Gearn Offshore. So today we are going to look at our winch motor, winch gearbox, winch parking brake, and namely how to take this parking brake off right here. So I don't have these two together to kind of show you a little more quickly about what's going on, but when everything's hooked up, you got this flange here from the motor that's hooked up to the gearbox and the motor here. So these are 5/8 bolts. Inch and 15/16 on the socket size to take those off. And what you're seeing then, this is a completed gearbox. So when you look down inside, you've got a bolt flange in here that you have to get to, and when these bolts come off, then that allows this piece to get separated, and then the portion from here to here is the brake itself. And this is a flange that is connected to the right angle. So these bolts right here again are the 5/8, same bolts as that. There's 5/8 bolts, 15/16 wrench, and these are 17mm. So what you're seeing here is just the nuts, and then these are studs that are connected here for a rebuild kit. There's studs that come with this to refreshen those connections. And then when you look down inside, what you're looking at is the seal here, the back of the seal actually, that keeps the pressure from the gearbox inside the, or excuse me, from the brake inside the gearbox. And you have the spline connection here that connects into the motor adapter. And then these bolts require number 8 like that to go down in. That's number 8. And so the first thing to do to get started would be to remove these bolts from the motor face. And then what you'll wind up with then is in this gearbox still hanging on the winch, but with this portion still being intact with the motor lifted off. So the very next thing that happens is you want to go in here and take off these 6 bolts. Let me climb down inside here. There we go. So those 6 bolts come off to then release this motor adapter. And the very next thing that happens is number 17 end wrench to be able to loosen these bolts off. And then this portion again from right here to here will be lifted off, and that is the brake. So you're looking at the brake right here. Got some, so you're seeing this is a new brake as would be received. Our black here is a rust inhibitor for machine surfaces that you don't really want to paint. So included with this is a bleeder valve and a sight valve. This bleeder valve you want to remove and replace it with the lines coming into the reservoir that sits up a little higher to make sure the oil is always maintained in this connection. Likewise, that connection may also be right here depending on how it's hooked up, but either here or here is just fine for the oil fill. And this is the port for receiving the parking brake pressure to release the parking brake, and this is where you'd hook in the line that comes in from the control unit itself. One other thing to note on this gearbox is that you could tell this is a 5200 series as opposed to a 5000 series gearbox because of the quantities of bolts. There's 32 bolts all the way around, and in the 5000 series that number is 24, and they're in groups of 3. So 1, 2, 3 and a space, and 1, 2, 3 and a space. So this is a 5000 series gearbox. However, this parking brake in this portion is identical across both series, so it is irrespective of the older generation or newer generation. It's the same from the beginning. We're going to remove this flange to show you what's going on. See how easy that comes out. Alright, so we're going to swing this away. Nice and clean that is. So this is the splined little splined adapter that is just one piece. It is loose on there. However, it's probably suction cupped onto this shaft because of the grease and the tight tolerances. That's actually what this hole is for, is to allow that to slip on and off without developing suction. So this can actually stay on the motor. You just don't want to lose it. So that is what actually gets engaged right down into the bottom. And if we look here, you can also see now this gasket. Now this is a new gasket we just installed. This will receive an additional kind of a paper style gasket all the way around, which is not shown in the video here yet. So that's a little better view of the gasket, and this just presses down in, and usually it will stay with this whenever it gets taken in and taken out. But keep an eye out for it. That should stay in good shape. So this is part of the parking brake. You can kind of recognize what we're seeing right here. And the next step to do is to take off these bolts here, and that's a number 17 end wrench. Yeah, so we're just starting to break a little bit free here. So this is the interior. These are the studs that can be replaced if needed. There we go. So you've got a small O-ring that fits in across here, and then this is open, so it can receive the oils from the gearbox for lubrication. And again, one of the small little splined connections there from here to here for making that connection. So this is the parking brake, and that's the part you should replace with new, as we're seeing right here.